That's okay. Welcome to the Conscious Goddess Hour, everyone. And I am super excited to have my guest here today, Seryna Myers, and she's going to be talking about branding. And today our show is called The Importance of Authenticity. Authenticity. That's a new word today. Authenticity in your business branding. And she's going to be sharing about how to find our brand's voice. Maybe you don't even know what a brand is. If you were like me, for many, many years, I had a business and didn't understand what a brand was or what it meant. Knowing where to reach your people and how your vibe, your energy, your frequency attracts your tribe. And I've known Seryna for a long time. But before we delve into that, first of all, I always like to give gratitude and thanks to Rachel, my producer, here at New Earth Broadcasting, because as I say every week, she had a vision and she was really passionate about sharing women's voices in this time when we're, becoming more aware of women in the workplace and also the rising of the divine and sacred feminine. And I mean, I can't even imagine a more beautiful goddess than Seryna to have here with me today. I mean, this woman embodies goddess in every way. So with our new broadcast and our new company, The Conscious Goddess, I'm just so excited to have her here today. So let me tell you a little bit more about Seryna. She is a branding strategist. She works with passionate entrepreneurs to craft big, beautiful brands that feel authentically like who they are and that their clients fall in love with them. She began her journey in the corporate world, working under some of the strictest brand guidelines on the market. And also she knows how important consistency and aesthetic is, but also why it needs to feel like you. And I've heard a lot about Seryna's story over the last couple months. But how I met her originally was through a friend, Juliet, who is my friend who is a shaman. And we met through one of her events. And I fell in love with Seryna right away. I was like, I need to get to know this woman and what she's all about. And I actually heard about her first through her company called The Pampered Goddess and never realized she was so brilliant in marketing and branding and all of that. And so I know that she embodies all of that in what she's about to offer us today. So with that, I'd love to welcome Seryna to our show today.
Hello, thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. I'm so excited you're here. So I would love to, I know we don't have a lot of time. Actually, Seryna has to go fairly quickly, so we're going to dive right in. First of all, though, I'd love for people to get to know a little bit about you. Like where did you come from? and what was your life like before you got into branding and marketing and all of that?
Yeah, it's been a pretty weird journey of mine, actually. So it started off in radio broadcasting, of all things. Then that kind of transitioned into corporate, which is how I ended up in marketing and sales, selling Microsoft accounting software of all very scintillating things, let me tell you. And then when the recession hit, I got laid off, which at the time felt like a super bummer, but ended up being the most wonderful transition for me. So that's when I started to explore alternative health and my own spirituality. And then from there, I ended up creating this company, Pampered Goddess, and I was kind of doing marketing as my side hustle. And then about a year ago, I just said, you know what, let's find a way to make this my full meal deal, everything that I do, and built a business that I really love, and I get to support women who are doing the same.
Awesome. Fantastic. Yeah. And I was just on your website again and I was like, oh, I just love your website. It's just, and I forgot to mention this. We're going to be working with Seryna as soon as, I get some messaging down with my other website. And then, this is one of my projects. I'm so excited because when I look at your website and I look at your, everything from like your tweets to your, what you post on Facebook and how you are, I have to tell everyone right now, I have like, a fairly handsome fellow cleaning my windows right in front of me right now.
It's not distracting at all.
And, I love the universe and how really right at this exact moment, the window cleaner is here. So, so first of all, so there was, I got distracted. All right. So where was I?
We're talking about your website and.
Oh yeah. So and really you're not one of those women who talks about, I can help you with this and I can help you with that. You really do embody and stand for and present everything that you stand for. And that's why I want to align with you. This project for me is my baby. And it's the biggest thing that I'm about, the biggest thing that I'm about to put out there. And so right now I can tell it just the way that I'm presenting, the way that I'm looking, it's not a cohesive thing. It's kind of a little bit here and a little bit there. And I have so many great ideas and I'm like, which ones are good? Which ones aren't? And now that I've had a taste of working with some branding people, I see how important that is. So let's dive right in. Tell us a little bit about, you wanted to talk a little bit about finding your brand's voice. How do we do that?
So I think the thing that a lot of business owners are afraid to do, and I'm not really sure why this is, and I actually see it more so with women entrepreneurs, is to just actually pick up the phone and talk to their customers. And it's really funny because, like, in my 3 points that we talked about that I'd be sharing today, all of it comes down to being of service to your people. So by starting off with just that initial conversation, you're able to have that roll out into all these different areas of your business. So when it comes to finding your brand's voice, you want things that feel authentically you. So if you're a more casual sort of like sweatpants entrepreneur working in your PJs at home, you don't want to create this like sort of fake facade of like a corporate vibe and whatever. You want it to feel aligned. I mean, if you're kind of corporate at heart and you're just lounging at home, that's a whole other story. You really want to have that aligned to you, because I know when I worked in corporate and I had to wear like the power suit and whatever, and I certainly didn't have pink hair back then, I found it really restrictive. And I had these ridiculous rebellions, like these like bright orange plaid like platform shoes and like stupid things like that, just so I could be like, look, see, I'm an individual. So you want things to feel that's authentically you. However, when I say starting off with talking to your people, when you're asking them about their pain points and their frustrations and their passions and the impact that they're trying to make in the world, take notes, and not just general notes of like what you think. Write down what words they're actually using, and you translate that into your own vibe. And that way, when you're speaking to them, it's values wise, it's very aligned with you and your mission and your passion, but you're speaking in a language of your people. So they hear that and they start to self-select. They say, oh, she's talking to me. And then they know that that not just that you understand them, but that you're the one who can help.
Yeah. Well, I love that. But, because I'm a words person and I love just the frequency and vibe and energy around words. But I think,
when you don't, just to come back to that for a second, because I kind of missed a pretty important bit. Everything that you do, if you don't have that conversation first up, is making an assumption about what their pain is, right? And when you do that, you just end up being kind of part of the white noise. If you can imagine how much information we're inundated with every day, from TV to magazines to the internet to like if you look at just your Twitter feed, how fast that's going to refresh. We are just bombarded with information. So you need to be able to have things that like energetically align with you and your purpose, but in a language that your people understand, so that you stand out amongst all that white noise. You're able to sort of like get their attention and pull them in.
Yeah, well, and so that's what I was going to say, is because you said the white noise. When I started out, with my holistic nutrition practice, and then that developed into, more around neuro-linguistic programming and all of that. But I'm also a DJ, and I can also craft things around music and stuff for people. I'm bringing that all in now. But at that time, I was like, especially as a holistic nutritionist, I thought, well, I'm so desperate for clients that I'm just going to take anybody, and I'm just going to work with everyone. And I was like, no, I can help everybody. Well, no one really knew what to come to me for. And so I remember even our teachers saying, find an area that you're really passionate about and experience, or maybe something that you've been through personally, and really hone in. And I was always like, I had that scarcity mentality, like there's not going to be enough people to find to do business. And I lived in a small town, so that could have been part of the reason. And of course, just getting online at that time. But now it's like, I want to hone in on that market because I'm completely overwhelmed otherwise. And so it comes back as overwhelm and confusion. And I even had someone say to me at this party, I was having a great time. This woman came in, she's like, man, you are all over the place. Like, I cannot even figure you out. Like, and I was like, time and place, and maybe a little bit more compassion around your feedback. Thank you very much. But it made me so mad that I literally hired a branding person like the following week. And I was like, man, she was right. It took me a while, but I went back and told her, I was like, lit a fire under my ass, So
Well, that's the thing with passion-driven people. Like they're the best at what they do, and they have so many ideas, right?
Yeah.
So when you work with a branding strategist, they're able to sort of like look at this whole like mesh of ideas and say, okay, what's your singular focus, and how do we narrow that down? Or maybe you have a couple of focuses, but you can find the theme that kind of ties
Yeah.
them all
The
together.
thread. Yes.
Exactly, and that's what you need is someone to just because to just sort of like guide you through that process, because otherwise it's just so many ideas, and
Yeah.
being able to like funnel them into one actionable thing gets really challenging.
Well, yeah, and it doesn't mean that all of the ideas aren't good. It's just like, what are the ones that are going to work? Because I'm an ideas person, and I feel like I've come up with a lot of great ideas, but I can't necessarily follow through on all of them. And so then they just fall flat, and then I feel like I've failed. So, yeah, and then that also, and again, people feel that from me. And so it's like, well, she was doing that one thing, and she's not doing it anymore. Well, what is she doing? So,
Mm-hmm.
awesome, perfect. So our next piece is about where to find them.
Yeah, so coming back to that initial conversation with your people, it's asking them, hey, where do you hang out online? What Facebook groups are you in? I would say the majority of my business come from Facebook groups and word of mouth. And my sort of philosophy in business is lead with generosity. So I will show up in a group, and I mean, you and I have had discussions in Facebook groups where I go and I'll do a post and say like, hey, you know what? I'm kicking around my laptop today. I'm going to be in the office. So does anyone have any marketing questions or branding questions or social media or whatever? And then I'll open up a thread and people can just, write stuff in and get their questions answered without having to book a compatibility call. And it's something that's really nice because I can answer it on my schedule and when I have gaps in time, and I'm giving value, they're getting value, and the relationship is being built before we've even started to do business together. So asking your people where they hang out is really huge. The other two things I would say is ask them whose email list they're on that they are excited to receive all the time.
Mm.
And then, like for me, I would say there's a copywriter. She specializes in sales page named Courtney Johnston with the Rule Breakers Club. I would say I open almost every single one of her emails. I
Cool.
love Danielle Laporte. I read her books. I follow her on social media. I read about half of her emails. So it's, asking who those people are and then stalking those brands, looking at how they're conducting themselves in social media, what they're doing, because they're resonating with your people, right? Don't look at all of them, but if everybody is saying Marie Forleo, well, then maybe you should be stalking Marie Forleo a little bit online and see kind of what she's up to. And the other thing that you can do is when you're doing Facebook ads, you can say, I want to target people who like Marie Forleo.
Yeah, I just learned this yesterday, and my
Yeah.
brain, because I already went and stalked somebody's webinar and went to all the comments and started talking with those people on Facebook, and I was like, I'm so smart. And then yeah, literally the next webinar I watched on Facebook ads was just that. You can go, and so what a difference. I went out and put a Facebook ad out to anyone, and I got not that, some of these people were questionable values and ethics. And then I went to that and I went over and, it was Chris Carr. And I checked out some of her people, and instantly the people were just like, I'm not going to say like less or better or whatever.
But they're just more targeted to you.
They're more in alignment with what I'm into. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And the thing too, especially like Facebook's job, if you can imagine as a business owner, like setting up your ads, Facebook's job is to make money, right?
Yeah.
So if your goal when you're setting up your ad is for increased conversions, they're going to show your ad to people that are more likely to click through. Now, if you're setting your goal as cost per click, and it's going to maximize that, it is going to send it to every looky-loo in the universe that somehow matches criteria.
That's what happened to me. So I was
which means you're going to pay out the nose and you're going to get probably very little in return.
Yeah.
So you really want to make sure that you're setting those goals right.
I did that at the very beginning. That wasn't what happened yesterday, but similar though. I didn't target it. I had to do it really quickly, so I just whipped it together.
Yeah, you're better off to actually do it when you've got time.
Facebook ads are brilliant.
They're amazing. And yeah, having those conversations helps you to be able to find who your people are and then use that in your targeting, in your messaging, and in just your own brand and inspiration as well.
I know. I just so excited to work with you, Seryna.
We're going to have so much fun.
I know. And I just, I was talking to Juliet, our mutual friend, and I was like, does she know how to do this? And it's just like, I think so. And I was like, amazing. I just can't wait.
No,
Awesome. Perfect.
that's crazy what's locked in this noggin of mine.
I know. Well, and I mean, the thing is because I met you under different circumstances in a completely different world. And then I was like, whoa, this woman knows what she's doing. So,
I
all
have
right.
to
So,
say, having
yeah,
like coming from a marketing place is really great no matter what business you're in, because then you're able to go out in the world and you don't have to outsource everything, especially when you're first starting a business. Like my other business, Pampered Goddess, it moved into events, but it started out as an aromatherapy line. So
right.
not having to pay a designer to do all my packaging and to do my website and all my social media and all my graphics, to be able to like do all that in-house and make product and everything else was really empowering. And it was interesting because at the time I was in a self-employment program, and I got passed around from coach to coach a little bit because my original coach had left. And I got this guy and we did not jive like at all. And he didn't know that I came from a branding place first. He just thought I was like this kind of hippy dippy. I make these aromatherapy bath salts and blah, blah, blah. And so he said, I think you should change your packaging to these Ziploc bags. And I said, I can't charge $20 for a Ziploc bag of bath salts. Like that is completely out of character for my brand. Everything is upscale and blah, blah, blah. And I use these jars and they're beautiful. And he said, Seryna, you're too small for a brand. I was like, whoa, I am officially shut down in this conversation. Because of course I'm super passionate about branding. And the part that was so maddening for me is that this is a trusted advisor. This is someone who's teaching small business owners who are just getting their start how to put themselves out in the world. And if you tell them they're too small for a brand, that means they're always going to play small. And it's really going to hold them back, because
Whoa.
you imagine just how saturated the markets are. You need something to set you apart. You need to be able to stand out of that white noise like we talked about.
Oh my God. That just, and this is the thing that I'm like really starting to come back to and stand for is, and when someone said to me recently, and that was it. And I coached with this person for a long time, and they said, don't let your emotions rule your decisions. And I was like, well, I'm not a robot. And the thing is you don't tell somebody who's kinesthetic that that's
Yeah.
a bad thing to say to a kinesthetic, empathetic person. And I'm like, basically, like you said, that basically was like, shut up. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, wait a second. I understand guiding me and helping me to hone in on those
Yep.
emotions and
Focus it.
and
That's all.
focus it.
Passion is important.
Yeah.
For me, I was told I was too bossy, that I was a control freak, and that I talked too much. Those were kind of my three things.
Yeah.
And you know what? Like my bossiness is great for getting stuff done. And the fact that I'm a control freak, I'm highly organized and things don't fall through the cracks. And I talk too much, but I'm super passionate and I'm happy to share the information I have, and it helps other people. So all of these sort of like, oh, these are your flaws. It was like, whatever. This
No,
is how
those
I
are your like
operate.
superpowers, I
Yeah.
think.
It's the
And
difference
that's
between working for yourself or working for someone else, because then
yeah.
you can take these flaws, as I, use my scare quotes here,
Yeah.
and use them as assets to your business in ways of setting yourself apart.
Absolutely. Well, and that's what I really think is coming through. And with the rising of the sacred and divine feminine is this, wait a second, these rules and these things are quite, I'm not saying that all men are like this, but it's part of a very patriarchal system where,
It's hard. It's a harder, more direct energy. It doesn't
yeah.
flow. It's not going with your natural rhythm, right? It's very much about rigidity and be in
Thank
the box.
you. Thank you. Well, and rhythm is an important word to me because I'm a DJ. And now I'm
Mm-hmm.
realizing that this is why I'm finding my rhythm and I'm being okay. And guess what? We are so connected with the moon and the cycles. And I'm really learning about all of this and how I want. So yeah, that's part of my vibe. And of course, because I know you got to get going, I'd love to talk a little bit more about that. So what do you
About
mean
your
by
vibe attracting
vibe?
your tribe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you're showing up for yourself, and you talk about this kind of shift into the divine and sacred feminine, what I am seeing is women starting to own their power, and that's what that shift means to me. And I'm seeing these women coming forth. They are thought leaders, they are innovators, and they're putting themselves out there. And really, that's kind of bucking the trend, because if you're told, like in my case, you're bossy, you talk too much, and whatever, what it does is it dampens you, right? And you start to play small.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, even right now, and I know my stuff. I've been in this industry for like 11 years, and I started out working under Microsoft's branding rules. Like I know my stuff.
Yeah.
But even now, like over a decade later, I'm still like a little bit resistant about really claiming that power as a leader and really owning it. So this is kind of my journey. And what I noticed is that when I stop playing small and in those moments where I'm like, I'm there and I'm on my soapbox and I'm ranting, and there, I mean, it ends up being kind of funny usually because I just get so like hot under the collar about stuff and I flail around and whatever. I'm French Canadian half, so off I go.
Yes.
It That's what pulls people in, because what you're putting out there when you're not just outsourcing your copy, or you're working with someone who's really like being able to articulate who you actually are. When you're not just, like rocking your sweatpants at home, but then you're pretending to be this like super fancy, like upscale, whatever. When you're putting stuff out there that is genuine and authentic and real, those people on the other end who are receiving it, they hear you. And it's really funny. And in the early days when you're kind of building your following, you're going to think, oh my gosh, this is just cricket after cricket. You're going to put things out there and you're going to assume no one's listening because the engagement is quiet and it's low. But then all of a sudden you're going to get a message. And I'll tell you the first one that happened to me. Someone had posted something in a Facebook group. I gave her feedback and told her she was doing great. And she said, oh my gosh, you have no idea what this means to me. I've had a business crush on you for ages. And I'm so like fangirling right now. And I was like, me? Someone has a business crush on me? You know what I mean? And all of that is because even though I thought here I was just like talking to crickets, people were listening. They were just quiet. And they were jiving with what I had to say and what I was putting out there and the passion that I had behind it. And it wasn't just the content, because you have people who are doing the corporate thing. And I don't mean corporate in like a bad way. I mean like in the pretending to be something that you're not for the sake of a buck. I guess that's kind of what I'm saying when I use corporate, which isn't necessarily fair of the term, but let's just use that definition for now. Those people might still be putting out good content, but it's not going to resonate. It's not going to like light a fire under someone's ass like what that woman did to you. And especially when you're a new business owner and you're trying to stand out in the white noise, you need those things that are going to help set you apart. And the only way to do that is to show up for your people, to be generous, and to be authentically you and not pretend to be something else. And it's exhausting pretending to be something else.
Oh, yeah. Well, and that was the thing, Seryna. I mean, like, here I am, shaved head, skateboarder girl. I started working in health food stores 20 years ago, and it was a very rebellious thing to work in a health food store and be into juicing and cleansing. And I was one of those very annoying, righteous vegans. And that's the thing, though. I had to be, I guess, to get me to the next level of where I wanted to go. I make a joke about it now. It's not a way to make friends, honestly. And it's funny because now I learned a whole modality called rules transformation. And so now I realize I built up over the years lots of rules. But my point being is that, and then I went to school, I opened my practice, my little nutrition practice. Then I got into neurolinguistic programming. The very same time I got into network marketing. Well, when I got into network marketing, I started shifting in over to this like, I'm supposed to look like this, and I'm supposed to act like this, and I better not show myself, dancing at a festival in a tutu because someone might not buy my product. And I started to like cut that part of myself out. Mm-hmm. And then it's no wonder the conscious goddess just like burst right through me and just like, and then I had to, run a festival, which is a big, big project.
It's a huge undertaking.
Yeah.
But it incorporates so many of your personal facets and your own values. So it's actually a really beautiful expression of where you are and how you're showing up in the world.
Well, it was like a rebirthing of myself, to be honest. And that's why I say I'm the found her, because I feel like I found me. And I know that that's going to be a part of that brand that we're going to be working with you. But really, honestly, I remember thinking like putting on clothes and going, who the frick am I? Like this is not me. And, having coaches and mentors, which I had, not to toot my own horn or anything, but I had a lot more training in them in that department than they did. And just because they were making more money than me, they were telling me how to dress and talk and stuff like that. And then I was like, whoa, don't put baby in a corner, like you don't know me. And so that's why I resonate with you. And it's funny because I'm Métis, which means I have some French in me as well. So yeah, we're firecrackers at heart.
Absolutely. We gesture a lot.
Yes. Well, yes. And I'm very, and and sometimes that is intimidating to people. So the thing is that, someone said to me, because I teach how to build rapport and mirror and body language and all that, when I'm in my mode, when I'm working with clients one-on-one and I am in session, I am watching everything. I am so in the zone. But be my authentic self out in the public, I'm loud, annoying, obnoxious, kind of like, like and I love being funny. Like that was my coping mechanism for so long. And that's who I am. And
but there's a difference there too, though, because when you're in a session with a client, it's not about you. It's
no,
about
it's not. No.
So that's why you shift a little bit, because you're there to create the space for them, to honor them, to teach them, to lead them.
Absolutely.
And that's not actually being inauthentic. It's just another facet of yourself. So you can be as loud and rambunctious and whatever as you want in the rest of your time. It doesn't take away from the value you're able to provide for your people, because it just shifts, and you become more focused and more service oriented, because that's what you're doing at the time.
Yeah, and that's true. When I shift it from being it being about me to them, absolutely, which isn't always easy at the beginning. That's probably my biggest tip to people who work one-on-one in coaching, is really it's find out what their beliefs are, and then design your strategies that are going to align with the ecology of their world, and align with what's going to make sense to them. And that's why I loved NLP, because it taught me that I'm kinesthetic and auditory, but someone else could be visual. And if I'm not listening to them, then and using visual words, then it's going to be lost. At the same time, I'm like, I'm a lifter upper, I'm a cheerleader, I'm a DJ. Like, I get people dancing, and that's who I am. So if you're coming to me to calm down, that's probably not going to work very well. Although I do.
And that's why being authentic in your branding is important.
Exactly.
You want to attract the people who need to be jazzed up, not people who need to be mellowed down.
Exactly. So I know, and I would beat myself up over that. I'm like, man, I'm losing people. But at the same time, I'm like, well, they're just not my people, I guess,
Exactly.
So,
I did a webinar a couple weeks ago, and I had this page that was talking about how you're not, what you put out there is not going to resonate with everybody. And the slide said something along the lines of it is not your job to make everyone like you. You are not Nutella. That's so true, right? You're not chocolate.
I love it. I love it. Well, this is my website. I want to go to your website. I want to, now that we're just wrapping things up here, I want to make sure people know where to find you and what you have coming up, if something's coming up.
Yeah, I have this beautiful workshop in Vegas that's happening in October. It's 3 days. We have a few spots available, and it's really just going really, really deep. So it's a co-creation I've done with a business coach named Michelle Schroer. And we're going to do the first day that's all around your messaging, your audience, and really discovering your soul aligned message. And then the second day is working with me and turning that message into a visual brand, and how you express that in the world, and how you find your voice, and all of that kind of stuff. And then on the third day, it's the glam day. So we're going to go for a photo shoot. We're going to go.
Oh my God, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, and then a little Vegas celebration at the end of it. So it's really beautiful. It's a great way to get massive impact, because oftentimes the branding process can take weeks, months. For someone who's super unfocused, even more. So to be able to go in and just get in and get out in 3 days and walk away with a brand at the end of it is pretty powerful.
God, I would love to be there. Oh my goodness,
it's going to be incredible.
I was just in Vegas, and honestly, I've never ever been interested in going to Vegas at all. But I was there for a health and wellness conference as well, and I loved it. And Tony and I said, we got to come back here. This is, my business is online. I felt like we could have gone around and met people from all over the world, and we loved it. There's, it's fancy, and there's pools, and there's this and that, and it's not all granola and natural and whatever. But I don't know, we just thought we need this for balance in our life. So I don't know, I could see why people put on conferences there, because it's just so much freaking fun.
And it's got an energy of just getting stuff done. That's what we really, really like about Vegas. And because it's so scalable, for someone who's maybe just starting out and they don't have as much budget to play with, they can do Vegas relatively cheaply. And for other people who they're going to write it off anyway, so they want to make it a super indulgent experience, well, then they have the ability to make it very luxurious as well. So it's a pretty flexible place in that way, but it's the buzz that is in the air in Vegas that really lends itself to getting stuff done.
Yeah. So for those people who are listening in audio only, tell them what your website is, and also where to find you on social media. Because I love your Twitter. Your Twitter is just one second. Your Twitter is you know, what you post on Twitter is not always what you post on Facebook. And so you have different areas. So Seryna.ca,
for
first
the
of all.
website. And for that workshop in particular, it's igniteinvegas.com.
Okay.
And yeah, it's either it's like facebook.com/Seryna for Facebook, and everything else, Instagram and Twitter would be at Seryna Myers.
Okay. And it's Seryna. Yeah. And .ca. That's because I love that you were able to get your name. That's awesome. Just your first name. I tried to get Tamara.com, and I probably could get Tamara.ca. But yeah, so Seryna, Seryna.ca, and you can find out about the Ignite in Vegas event. Also, I didn't know, I thought I was already on your list, but I just signed up for you have a little free offer when you land on your website. What's that again?
It's your Big Beautiful Brand Workbook. So it's, if you're in the early stages, you're just thinking about it, and you're not ready to make the investment in working with a strategist, it's a workbook to kind of talk you through the basics of branding. So
Yeah,
to give you an idea of what to think about.
Hi, I'm like, I don't have this yet. I got to get this. So
Get a copy. It's so good.
And I love the way your website looks. It's totally you, and I'm like embracing all of this feminine. I was very raised by my dad. I had a very masculine upbringing. And of course I realize now that I needed all that to get to where I am now. But now I'm like pink and pretty, and I put on pretty things, and I'm just loving it. I grew my hair really long. I just cut it. But, I want the brands of my businesses to reflect what I feel and see and experience inside of myself, for other people to be able to experience that. When I look at your website, I'm like, I love it. I'm like, I would love to have this desk in my freaking house. Like, yeah, I love
I'll
it.
be honest, full authenticity, it's a set building graphic. That's not my actual office.
Oh no, I know, but it's something that you love, that you would like. Yeah, no, and it's a statement about. I understand. I know that's not in your house. I
just like to be honest about it.
Yeah.
People are like, wow, your office is amazing. I'm like, that's not my desk, man.
Yeah. To be really honest, that desk wouldn't be functional for me personally. I would use that for DJing, but but it's pretty and I like the lamp, I'm like, and little things like that in your font. And I get it. So, well, thank you so much for being here. Is there anything that you could, if there was like one little tip that you could give your peeps, what would it be?
It would talk to your people. Talk to your people, because they are the reason you're in business. They are they're the driving force behind everything that you do. And it's going to be really hard to build a successful business without having those conversations.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Seryna. Thank you for your time today. I know you got to get going.